an entire episode devoted to study habits, and they neglected the most obvious one: time travel. After all, you have spells that can send you into the past, chaos spirits that can take you back as an observer, and magic potions that can add an uncomfortable dash of Rule 34 humor for good measure. And in my case, a pre-established relationship with a time traveler. Fire it up, Doc.
Behold the power of darkness!
This was a horrible idea, and I blame the hip-hop. Go, 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 go! Well, I'm never doing that again. Though I will admit, that villain was pretty cool. And despite being scary, he wasn't half as confusing as whatever it is you're wearing right now. Seriously, the Colin Baker outfit looked less ridiculous, though just barely. And pull up your frickin' pants. I swear I will never understand that look.
That is my rapid history of the Wonderbolts.
We start off this episode with Twilight doing something we haven't witnessed in a while: studying magic. It's nice to see that Alicorn status hasn't made her master of all magic, but she's studying outside, and by Murphy's Law, that makes her a target for Rainbow Dash.
How in Equestria does that pony expect to pass her History of the Wonderbolts exam tomorrow if she's wasting time flying?
Oh, sure. Take all the exposition for yourself and leave none for the rest of us. Typical. Twilight's chronic lack of an internal monologue makes her a pretty easy target for Rainbow.
I saw you giving me the stink eye from the ground, and heard you flying towards me and muttering from a mile away.
So we learn about an upcoming
A test that will determine if you can join the newly formed Wonderbolts Reserves. And being part of the Wonderbolts Reserves means you'll have the opportunity to live your dream as a Wonderbolt.
Stop doing my summarizing! Anyway, a Wonderbolts Reserve. We never really learn what that means. Will they only step in if the Wonderbolts themselves are having difficulty, which has been pretty common recently? Or are they stand-ins for when the main crew gets injured? Also recently. Instead of a newly formed reserve, I think that a qualifying round towards becoming a full Wonderbolt would add some oomph to this story. Of course, Twilight's no slouch when it comes to playing up the drama of a test, which leads to a nice continuity jab.
Your freakouts are so epic, you sing whole freak-out arias about freaking out.
So very true. So we start the motif of this episode with Twilight abducting Rainbow into her library for a study session. And no, that is not the opening of a slash fic. Yet it's clear before this even began that these study habits wouldn't work for Rainbow. Asking Rainbow Dash to sit still and focus is like asking Godzilla to watch where he's stepping. And be honest, how many of us started out by highlighting half the dang book and drawing sketches before we really figured out how to focus?
Can't we just watch the History of the Wonderbolts movie? No!
Wait, why not? Is this History of the Wonderbolts historical documentary or History of the Wonderbolts historical Disney? Either way, Rainbow does what most of us would do during a boring lecture. She makes her own entertainment. Though I for one am interested in the history of the Wonderbolts as it ties into the consequences of Luna's banishment. With Equestria down to just one princess, the three tribes decided they needed to step up and form a defensive team. Yeah, good luck with that. Don't worry, princess. Our boys can handle it. No need to worry. So, did you see the game last night? Whoops. I guess you're up, Your Highness. Go get him, slugger. This is the exact same rhetoric that Applejack and company used.
If something happened to you, I just don't think Equestria can risk losing another princess.
And the first aerial performance of the EUP had so much energy that it created magical lightning. This both led to the creation of the Wonderbolts and added some weight to the theory that Pegasus flight is more magical based than biological, but I'm sure that'll never be an issue. I just had the weirdest feeling. Anyway, don't worry if you didn't catch that history. You'll hear it again and again. Starting with the most terrifying of foes, a pop quiz! Which Rainbow promptly bombs. And to borrow an insight from Dr. Wolf, Rainbow has never been able to take something to heart without trying and failing at it first. So when she fails the quiz and realizes that she's not ready for the exam, well, it's time for a good old ego battle.
And it's all your fault!
Ooh, Dash comes out swinging and tries to bite the hoof that fed her.
Well, this egghead knows history and can fly.
Twilight Sparkle fires back because no pony insults her study methods.
Maybe I should become a Wonderbolt.
The Princess of Sick Burns returns!
You're barely able to just get off the ground!
Oh, right in the fan rage.
Now, is that any way to talk to a friend?
And the winner is Fluttershy for her mature assertiveness. And so we enter the most talked about act of this episode, the study habits of the main six, starting with Fluttershy, who gathers the pets into a silent play. Okay, I guess she's a visual learner, and historical reenactments are a good way to learn. Yet the shtick about the animals is awkward, and the only thing I really register is Rainbow Dash's own discomfort and confusion. Let's move on to Pinky Raps About History! Begin!
Well, back in ancient times where the Wonderbolts of war, a general named Firefly, amazing and so bold. She brought them all together, spreading unity and fight, performing at the very best with wonder and spite. Wonderbolts, yeah! Wonderbolts, Wonderbolts, yeah! Wonderbolts, that is my rapping history of the Wonderbolts.
Word. This is the joke that fans either love or hate. Again, this is a non-diegetic moment in the show, signaled by that page spin at the start. Pinky's doing a rap for her friends, but nothing on this level. If we saw the real thing, I'm betting we'd all be bored, so I don't mind this. Next up, a living museum, because Rarity is apparently a visual learner as well, and she's hoping that an exhibit of Wonderbolt fashion will somehow get something to stick for Rainbow. Problem is that most museum exhibits aren't just uniforms. There's also photography, models, and other references. And much like Fluttershy's play, Rarity's exhibit is limited by her fashionista trope. And then there's Applejack.
I didn't learn anything. I was right all along.
I kid, but Applejack's learn by experience approach does raise a question. We saw in Daring Don't that Rainbow Dash can learn and memorize facts if she's interested. So if the Wonderbolts are her favorite flight team, how come she doesn't know any of this? At first this seemed like a plot hole, but it actually says something about her character. Rainbow's real passion is flight. They even say so in the episode. The Wonderbolts are reputed to be the best flyers in Equestria. Therefore, Rainbow will join the Wonderbolts to be seen as the best flyer. They're a means to an end, and Rainbow isn't necessarily a fan of the team itself. She certainly had no reservations about joining the Shadowbolts until they hit her with that us or them ultimatum. And to be honest, with the way the Wonderbolts have been presented so far, I wouldn't mind if Rainbow let go of joining the team and found another way to establish herself. Though I doubt Rainbow would agree, as she suffers a meltdown and goes into deep depression. And unlike in Daring Don't, Rainbow's depression here feels very natural because her friends unintentionally overwhelmed her. Failing to learn 5 times over would undermine anyone's confidence, even if some of the study methods were unique. And then we get the subtlest bit of merchandising in 2.5 seasons. It showed up, served the plot, and left. Nice. Twilight has an epiphany, which was hinted at the episode's start and reinforced during the first flight sequence. See how Dash's eyes are constantly scanning the ground? That's a nice visual reinforcement of how she's always on the lookout while flying. Plus, she has really good eyes and ears. So Twilight orchestrates a lesson while Rainbow is flying.
I, Princess Celestia, banish you, Princess Luna, to the moon.
I'm impressed by how the lesson flight and the flashback are in sync, right down to Twilight glancing at the participants. Equally impressive is how Twilight got the town ponies to be involved. I don't think that's happened since Winter Wrap-Up. So often the town ponies are either an audience or victims in the plot, yet never participants. Having them participate pokes a small hole in the main 6 clique and allows the larger world to have a role.
Admiral Fairy Flight!
Even if most could use a lozenge. There is the question of how Twilight could put something like this together on such short notice, which again can take the viewer out of the flow. Yet it doesn't bother me because this has been an aspect of the show since season 1. Princess Celestia is coming to visit? Well, let's not decorate until that morning. Town-wide organization in less than an hour? Sure, why not? Arriving in Manhattan mere hours before a fashion show? The list goes on. Real-life logistics sometimes take a backseat, and as long as it doesn't skew the moral, I really don't have complaint. Unfortunately, that's what happens next. Rainbow gets 100% after one study session. Unlike Twilight's rapid assembly, this can send the wrong message, implying that if you know your study habits, you can get 100% with minimal effort. It might have worked out better if Rainbow passed the exam with the bare minimum of points, showing that she's got a ways to go before being a full Wonderbolt. Looking back at this episode, it's a mix of strong and weak moments. Visually, it's a treat with a lot of fun moments and some great character interaction. Yet there are several tripping points to the story flow and conflict, with a mixed moral at the end. My greatest critique of this episode, however, is that it should have aired far earlier in the season. There are 3 plot points that tie into other episodes. Twilight's learning about study methods, her inexperience with flight, and Rainbow's new status as the ill-defined Wonderbolt Reserve. Now imagine how this episode could have led into Rainbow Falls, Twilight Time, and Three's a Crowd. Now, if you excuse me, I think that the good dog Time Turner needs to have his fashion senses jarred. Hey, see this?
What?
Yeah, I know it looks like a textile mill vomited, but do you see how it uses suspenders?
What?
It's also very breezy around the crotch. I did not expect that.
What?